Johnny had always been fascinated by creepy stories and often spent late nights reading them on Reddit. He was particularly drawn to stories about clowns, and the more terrifying the story, the more he enjoyed it. However, one night, he found himself living a creepypasta story of his own. Johnny was staying with his grandmother in an old cabin by the woods. The cabin was isolated and eerie, and Johnny often found himself reading creepy stories late into the night to pass the time. However, one night, as he was reading a particularly chilling story, he heard a knock on the door. He opened the door to find a clown standing on the doorstep. The clown had a big, shiny red nose and yellow eyes, which were all Johnny could see when he appeared. The clown introduced himself as Mr. Tickles, and